On Mother's Day, my daughter-in-law, Sarah, scratched my name off the guest list and declared that the best present would be when this old hag got shipped off to a care home. By Tuesday, I'd voided the check meant for her house payment. I'm so glad you're here to hear this. Stick with me until the end, and let me know what city you're tuning in from. I'd love to see how far my tale travels. I was in my cozy kitchen, fussing over a bouquet of soft lavender roses I'd tucked into Grandma's old glass vase. One I only pulled out for big moments. They were my Mother's Day surprise for Sarah, my daughter-in-law. Sunlight poured through the curtains, glinting off the shiny finish of some fancy floral teacups I'd splurged on for her. Way more than my pension could handle. Still, I wanted her to feel cherished. At 62, I kept hoping. Kept thinking that the perfect gift or the right words might finally melt the ice between us. But oh, was I in for a shock. My phone hummed on the counter. It was my son, Michael. My heart did a little flip as I wiped my hands on my apron and grabbed it. "Mom," he said, his voice tight like he was holding something back. "About tomorrow." Something in his tone made me clutch the countertop. "What's up, sweetie? I've got Sarah's gift ready, and I baked those chocolate chip cookies the kids go wild for." A long pause hung between us. "That's the thing, Mom. Sarah thought it'd be better to keep it low-key this year. Just immediate family." My hand stopped cold. "But I'm family, aren't I?" "You know what I mean," he mumbled, his voice dropping. "Just us, the kids, and Sarah's folks." The roses seemed to blur in front of me. Her parents. "Yeah, they're here for the weekend." I swallowed hard, trying to keep my voice even. "Okay, I could just swing by for a minute. I won't linger. I just want to give Sarah." "Mom, don't make this harder than it is." His sharp tone sliced through me. "Sarah's been slammed with the home remodel and all." The remodel. The house I'd helped them buy. The house I'd been propping up with mortgage payments ever since Michael got laid off last spring. The payments that had been eating away at my savings month after month. "I get it," I said, though I didn't. "Not at all." After we hung up, I stood there, staring at the roses I'd arranged with such care. I'd always believed families held tight, no matter what. That belief carried me through the darkest days after my husband, Thomas, passed, leaving me to raise a 10-year-old Michael on my own. I grabbed my car keys. I'd just drop off the gifts at their place. I wouldn't even step inside. What could go wrong? I thought I was just dropping off a gift. But what I overheard through that open window, it shattered my world in seconds. 2 hours later, I rolled up to their charming 2-story Craftsman in Raleigh. The place was still, no signs of life. Maybe they were out grabbing last-minute stuff for the holiday. I was about to set the gifts on the porch when Sarah's voice floated through an open window. "No, Mom, don't worry about her crashing the party," she said with a laugh that felt like ice. "I made sure Michael told her to stay home." I froze, the gift bag pressed against my chest. "She's not welcome this year. A beat. Or ever if I get my way." I should have turned around. Should have walked back to my car. But my feet wouldn't budge. "You know what'd be the ultimate Mother's Day gift?" Sarah went on, her voice thick with scorn. "When that old bat finally gets packed off to a nursing home. That'd be worth celebrating." The gift bag slipped from my hands, the teacup set smashing on the pavement. I hardly heard the crash, barely felt the sting as a shard nicked my finger when I knelt to gather the pieces. That old bat. I drove back to Charlotte in a fog, tears clouding my eyes. Collapsing onto my couch, Sarah's words pressed down on me like a weight. For years I'd made excuses for her. She was stressed. She was from a different world. She just needed time to come around. I'd brushed off her snarky comments at family dinners. Acted like it didn't hurt when she forgot to include me in group photos. All the while, I'd been pouring money into their lives, covering their mortgage, chipping in for my grandkids' college funds, scraping by so they could have more. But I was done pretending. My eyes landed on my checkbook sitting on the coffee table. The mortgage payment for their house was due next week. I'd already filled out the check for $2,300. Almost half my monthly budget. With shaky hands, I ripped it to pieces. Then I called the bank and canceled all future payments to their lender. "Are you certain, Mrs. Thompson?" the bank rep asked. "You've been making this payment for over a year." "I'm certain," I said, my voice steadier than it had been in ages. "That payment ends now." When I hung up, my hands were still. For the first time in months, I could breathe. Have you ever had to draw a line with someone you love? Tell me in the comments, what gave you the strength to say enough? Tomorrow was Mother's Day, and I'd be alone. But it would also mark the start of something new. A life where I'd no longer trade my self-respect for people who saw me as a burden. And trust me, this was only the beginning. I glanced around my modest living room, at the framed photos of Michael and my grandkids. What would happen next? Would Sarah let me see the kids once she realized the money was gone? The thought stabbed at my heart. But another voice, bold and clear, spoke up inside me. What kind of role model am I for my grandkids if I let myself be treated like this? The phone rang. Michael's number lit up the screen. Too early for him to know about the check. Maybe Sarah had spotted me outside their house. I let it ring. What I did next would set the course for everything to come. 3 days went by without a peep from Michael or Sarah. 3 days of flinching every time my phone buzzed. 3 days of practicing what I'd say when they finally called. 3 days of wondering if I'd done the right thing. I sat at my kitchen table flipping through old photo albums. There was Michael at 8, grinning with a gap-toothed smile, holding up a trout he'd caught with his dad. Thomas's sudden heart attack 4 years later had broken our world, leaving me a 37-year-old widow with a heartbroken kid and a pile of bills. I ran my finger over Thomas's face in the photo. I did my best. I whispered to him. I kept our boys safe. I did. I'd worked 2 jobs, receptionist by day, cashier by night, to keep us afloat. I'd helped Michael with homework after late shifts, showed up to every school play even if it meant no sleep. I'd taken out a second mortgage to cover his college tuition. I never remarried, though I had chances. My life was about Michael, about building the future Thomas and I had wanted for him. But where would this story lead next? When my son Michael fell for Sarah during his final year at UNC, I was over the moon. She was driven, bold, majoring in finance with big dreams. What I didn't see back then was that her dreams always hinged on my wallet, not my presence. The first red flag waved at their wedding. Sarah demanded an extravagant bash at a swanky Raleigh venue. When I softly floated the idea of something simpler, her eyes flashed with barely hidden disdain. "This is our once-in-a-lifetime moment," she snapped. "Don't you want Michael to have the best?" Of course I did. So I dipped into my retirement fund, eating hefty penalties I could barely afford, to bankroll the fairy tale wedding Sarah envisioned. But that was just the start of the cracks forming. After they tied the knot, the gap between us widened. Michael's calls dwindled to a trickle. Invites to their place for dinner became as rare as a blue moon. When I did pop by, Sarah always had an excuse to hustle me out the door. A migraine. The kids were cranky. Oh, they had last-minute plans. But when money was tight, suddenly I was family again. 4 years back, when they set their sights on a gorgeous craftsman in a ritzy Charlotte neighborhood, Michael came to me, head bowed. "The bank won't cover the whole loan," he confessed. "But it's the perfect home, Mom. In a top-tier school district for the kids." I offered to cover the down payment, emptying my savings account. Then Michael got hit by layoffs in the software world, and they couldn't keep up with the mortgage. Sarah flat out refused to downsize. That's when I started footing their house payments, thinking it'd be a short-term fix. Somehow, it became my permanent burden. And let me tell you, I was about to draw a line in the sand. The phone's sharp ring yanked me out of my thoughts. Michael's number glowed on the screen. Picked up. "Where's the mortgage money?" "No, hi, Mom." "No, how are you doing?" Just raw anger. "Nice to hear from you too, Michael," I said, steadier than I felt. "Mom, the bank called. They said the payment's overdue." "What's the deal?" I took a deep breath. "I'm done covering the mortgage, Michael." "What?" His voice spiked. "You can't just bail on us." "Oh, I can. It's my money." The words spilled out before I could rein them in. That was before I overheard what Sarah really thinks of me. Before I learned I was banned from Mother's Day while her parents got VIP seats. Before I heard your wife say a nursing home would be her real reason to celebrate. Dead silence. Then, "You were eavesdropping?" The accusation stung like a slap.
No, Michael.
I came to drop off gifts, and Sarah was loud enough for the whole block to hear. "She didn't mean it," he mumbled, but it sounded hollow. "She was just blowing off steam." "About what?" "All I've ever done is give until I'm scraped dry." Another pause. I could picture him raking his fingers through his hair. just like his dad used to when things got heavy. Mom, we need that cash. We can't cover the payment without it. Then sell the house, Michael. Find something in your budget. We can't. Panic crept into his voice. The market's tanked, we'd take a loss, and the kids' school. Those are your calls to make, I said, surprised by my own steel. But I'm not paying anymore. Is this some kind of payback? His tone turned icy. You're weaponizing money because your feelings got bruised? Something snapped inside me. After all I'd sacrificed, every dime, every dream I'd set aside, my son thought I was being spiteful. This isn't about revenge, Michael. It's about dignity. My voice wavered but held firm. I've spent my life putting you first. I went without so you could have everything. I'm 62 with barely enough for my own future, because I poured it all into you. And in return, you let Sarah treat me like I'm invisible. That's not true. It is true. And I'm done with it. I steadied myself. I love you, Michael. Always will. But I'm not burning myself out to keep you and Sarah comfortable anymore. I hung up before he could argue, before my courage faltered. What I did next would shake things up even more. Outside, my little garden was bursting with spring blooms. I'd planted those bulbs last October, a quiet promise to myself that I'd be here to see them shine. Their bright colors felt like a nudge from the universe. Life goes on, even after the coldest seasons. My phone pinged with a text from Michael. We need to hash this out face to face. I'm coming by tomorrow. I set the phone down, not answering. Tomorrow would come soon enough. For now, I stepped into my garden, sinking my hands into the warm earth to yank out weeds. It was time to nurture my own life for once, to see what might grow if I poured all that love into myself. But the real test was coming and I was ready. The doorbell chimed at exactly 9:30 the next morning. I'd been up since 5 a.m. too wired to sleep, running through what I'd say to Michael. I brushed my hands down my sweater and opened the door. Michael stood on my porch, his face tight with strain. He looked worn, the creases around his eyes deeper than I'd noticed before. Come on in, I said, stepping back. He brushed past me, silent, his posture stiff as a board. In the living room, he stood with his hands shoved in his jeans pockets. Want some tea? I offered, grasping for something normal in this tense moment. I'm not here for tea, Mom, he said, his voice flat. I'm here about the mortgage, obviously. Not to see how I was. Not to say sorry for shutting me out of Mother's Day. Just the money. I sank onto the couch, suddenly exhausted. Sit down, Michael. Please. He paused, then dropped onto the edge of the recliner across from me. We need that payment. The bank called again yesterday. If we miss another, they'll start foreclosure. I told you my decision, I said softly. I'm not covering it anymore. Because of one dumb thing Sarah said? He dragged his hand through his hair, frustrated. She was just stressed out. This isn't about one comment, I said. It's about years of being sidelined, years of being treated like a bank account instead of a mom. That's not how it is, he shot back. I reached for the side table, pulling out a small journal. And this was where things were about to get real. I held up a worn notebook and said, Guess what this is? It's a record of every dime I've poured into you and Sarah since you said, I do. The down payment on your house, the cash for that fancy kitchen remodel, the monthly mortgage checks, the loans you never paid back. I flipped through the pages, my voice steady. It adds up to over $350,000, Michael. Pretty much my entire nest egg for retirement. His cheeks turned red. You never called those loans. You wanted to help. And you never said no, I shot back. Never even muttered a thank you. Meanwhile, Sarah's been crystal clear about how little she cares for me being in your lives. That's not true, he mumbled, but he couldn't look me in the eye. Oh, really? Last Thanksgiving. I leaned forward. Sarah forgot to tell me dinner was bumped up 3 hours. I showed up to find you all polishing off pie. Michael squirmed in his seat. That was just a mix-up. The family trip to the Outer Banks last June? I only found out you'd gone when I saw it on Instagram. We figured you wouldn't be into it. Your 5th anniversary party? I was stuck at a table with random plus ones, nowhere near family. Mom, you're blowing this out of proportion. Am I? I walked to my bookshelf, grabbed a stack of envelopes and set them down. These are birthday cards for the kids. Christmas gift cards. All sent back with wrong address scrawled on them, even though I've lived here for 25 years. Michael's face went pale. I didn't know about those. Of course not, I said softly. Sarah made sure you didn't. Just like she makes sure I barely see my grandkids. I paused, my throat tightening. Did you know Emma asked me last time I saw her why I stopped loving her? Sarah told her that's why I don't visit. Michael's shoulders sagged. She wouldn't say that. She did. I leaned closer. Michael, I've spent years trying to connect with Sarah. I've ignored her jabs, bitten my tongue at her insults, and kept writing checks to keep you afloat. But I'm done. I won't do it anymore. And what happened next? Oh, it was a doozy. The doorbell chimed, making us both jump. You expecting company? Michael asked. Nope, I said, but a knot formed in my stomach. I had a hunch who it was. I opened the door, and there stood Sarah, her face a storm of self-righteous fury. I knew he'd botched this, she said, pushing past me into the house. Her gaze locked on Michael. Why's this taking so long? Just get her to write the check so we can leave. The air in the room turned frosty. Michael looked like he wanted to disappear. Sarah, he started. That's not why. Oh, give me a break. She spun to face me, arms folded tight. I get it, you're mad about Mother's Day, but this is petty. We need that money. It's my money, I said, calm but firm. And I'm not giving it to you anymore. Sarah's eyes narrowed. After all we've put up with from you? I couldn't help it, I laughed. The sheer absurdity of it hit me. What have you ever done for me, Sarah? Besides drain my bank account and keep me from my family. Put up with you, she snapped, her polished mask slipping. Do you know how exhausting it is having you cling to us, always needy for attention? Michael was doing fine until you started playing the sad, lonely widow act. Michael shot to his feet, the coffee table wobbling. Sarah, that's enough. No, it's not, she fired back. Your mom's been pulling your strings for years with her sob stories and her money. Well, we don't need her. We kind of need her money right now, Michael said under his breath. And there it was, my own son admitting I was just a walking checkbook. That moment changed everything. Sarah turned to me, her voice suddenly syrupy. Lydia, we all say things in the heat of the moment. Let's move past this. The mortgage isn't my problem anymore. I finished for her. Neither are you. Sarah's fake smile vanished. You self-righteous old nag. Do you think Michael would even bother with you if you weren't footing our bills? Do you think the kids would give a damn about their grandma without your pricey gifts? Michael stared at her, horrified. Sarah, stop it. No, let her keep going, I said, a strange peace settling over me. Let her spit out the truth for once. Sarah's laugh was sharp and bitter. The truth? You've been buying your place in our lives because you've got nothing else to give. No one else to dump your desperation on. And now you're pitching a fit because you finally see we've been using you. The room went still. Michael looked like he'd been punched. Sarah's chest heaved with rage. And me? I felt free. Thank you for being honest, I said, my voice unwavering. Now I'd like you both to leave. Mom, Michael started, but I raised a hand. I've heard enough. We're done here.
Så snittet tilbage.
Fine, let's go, Michael. She's made her choice. Michael wavered, caught between his wife and me. Michael, Sarah snapped, her voice like a lash. Now. He gave me one last look. I didn't know, Mom. About the cards, about what she told Emma. I swear. I nodded once. It didn't matter if I believed him. Not anymore. When the door shut behind them, I sank onto the couch, shaking. Not with grief but with a fierce burning pride. I'd finally stood up for myself. The truth was out, raw and ugly. Now it was time to see what came next. The weeks after that showdown blurred together. I went through the motions, buying groceries, watering my flowers, flipping through TV shows I didn't really watch. My phone stayed silent. No calls from Michael, no photos of the grandkids, no pleas for cash. The quiet stung, but not as much as I'd feared. There was a strange relief in it, too. I was folding towels one Tuesday morning when the doorbell rang. My heart skipped a beat. Could it be Michael, ready to fix things, or Sarah, here to twist the knife deeper? I wasn't ready for who I saw. I opened it to find Emma, my 12-year-old granddaughter, standing on my porch, her bike tossed on the grass. Emma! I pulled her into a hug, my heart racing. What are you doing here? Does your dad know where you are? She shook her head, tears welling in her eyes. Mom and Dad are fighting nonstop, about the house, about you. And that moment, it opened a door I hadn't dared hope was still there. I overheard Dad telling Mom the bank's gonna take our house, Emma said, her voice small. My stomach dropped. So it was happening. The foreclosure process had kicked off. I miss you so much, Grandma, she mumbled, pressing her face into my sweater. Mom said you didn't want to be around us anymore. But I knew that was a lie. I guided her into the kitchen and started whipping up her favorite, hot cocoa with a mountain of marshmallows. Never mind the sunny weather. Some moments call for a little comfort. Your mom wasn't being honest, I said softly, sliding the mug across the table. I've missed you like crazy. Emma nodded, taking a sip. Dad's been so down lately. He got laid off again last month. Mom's always crying about the house. So that explained Michael's silence. On top of the mortgage mess, he'd lost his job. Again. The 4th time in 6 years. The tech world could be ruthless. Are you and Dad mad at each other? Emma asked, her big eyes full of worry. Is that why you stopped helping with the house? I took a deep breath, wondering how to break down grown-up problems for a kid. Your dad and I aren't seeing eye to eye about respect, about how family should treat one another. Is it 'cause Mom's mean to you? She blurted out. I heard her tell Aunt Lisa you're a meddling old hag who should butt out. I nearly spit out my coffee. Kids, right? They cut straight to the truth. It's tricky, honey, I said after a moment. But none of this is on you, and I love you to pieces. But oh, the conversation that was coming would test me. When I called Michael to let him know Emma was with me, his relief flooded through the phone. I'll come grab her now, he said, his voice strained. Let her stay for supper, I offered. I'll drop her off later. A beat. Sarah won't be happy about that. Sarah doesn't need to know, I said, surprised by my own nerve. Emma rode her bike all the way here, Michael. She's scared about you two fighting all the time. A longer pause. Okay, fine. But I'll pick her up. We need to talk anyway. Michael showed up just past 6:30, looking like he hadn't slept in days. Emma ran to him, babbling about the brownies we'd baked and how I'd let her snip dead blooms off my garden lilies. Go wait in the car, kiddo, Michael said. I gotta talk to Grandma. Once she was gone, he stood in my living room, hands shoved in his pockets just like last time. But something was different. The fight in him was gone, replaced by a heavy, worn-out look. You lost your job, I said. He nodded. Company slashed 25% of the team. Budget cuts. And the house. He slumped into a chair, rubbing his face. We missed 3 payments. The bank sent a warning. If we don't catch up in 45 days, foreclosure starts. I stayed quiet, letting him fill the silence. Sarah's parents can't bail us out. Her dad got wiped out in some bad stock deal last year. They're scraping by themselves. I hadn't known that. Sarah always acted like her family was rolling in it. We'll have to sell, Michael admitted. But like I said, the market's trash. We'll take a hit, maybe end up with nothing after the bank's done. I'm sorry, I said, and I meant it. Not enough to open my wallet again, but enough to feel for his stress. But what he pulled out next, that hit me like a freight train. He reached into his jacket and handed me a crumpled envelope. I found these in Sarah's desk. Was looking for mortgage docs and saw these. I opened it and found birthday cards, holiday notes. All from me to the kids, all unopened. There's more, Michael said softly. Years worth. She hid them all. Said she was shielding the kids from their overbearing grandma. My hands shook as I sifted through the bright envelopes, each one holding love and little gifts my grandkids never saw. I didn't know, Michael whispered. I swear I had no idea she was doing this. What about the rest? I asked. The way she talks to me? The oops moments when I'm left out of family stuff. He looked away. I saw some of it. Told myself she was just protective. That she'd come around. He met my eyes. I didn't want to face it. It was easier to pretend everything was okay. And now, Michael let out a heavy sigh. Now it's all crashing down. Sarah blames me for not managing you better, for letting you cut us off. Says if I'd been a better son, we wouldn't be in this mess. The irony stung like a wasp. After decades of putting Michael first, I was the bad guy for finally saying no. "What do you want from me, Michael?" I asked point blank. "I don't know." He stood pacing. "I'm not asking you to save us again. I know I've got no right." "No," I agreed. "You don't." "But I can't lose you," he said, his voice cracking. "The kids need their grandma. And I need my mom." Need. That word hit hard. All my life I'd been needed for money, for babysitting, for propping them up. Always giving, hardly getting. But I was about to throw a curveball. "I talked to a lawyer last week," I said, shifting gears. "About the house." Michael's head jerked up. "A lawyer? For what?" "I've put over $175,000 into that place," I said. "The down payment was mine. I've covered the mortgage for 2 years. That gives me a stake in it." His face went white. "You're suing us?" "No," I said. "But I needed to know my rights. The lawyer said my contributions might give me a chance to negotiate a stake, but it'd be a long shot without my name on the deed. Still, I could offer to buy in." "Buy in?" he echoed, confused. "I could put up cash to stop the foreclosure," I explained. "In return, I'd get legal co-ownership of the house. Not a loan, a real share." A spark of hope lit his eyes. "You'd do that?" "I'm thinking about it," I said carefully. "But there'd be rules." "What rules?" "First, I get regular time with my grandkids, no more roadblocks." He nodded fast. "Done." "Second, I'm treated with respect. No more forgetting to invite me to family dinners. No more hidden cards or gifts." Another nod, slower this time. "And third," I said, locking eyes with him, "Sarah has to apologize. Not some half-baked performance for you. A real, honest admission of how she's treated me." Michael's face fell. "She'll never agree to that." "Then we're at a dead end," I said, standing to walk him out. "Because I'm not budging on my self-respect anymore, Michael." And with that, I set the stage for what's coming next. Michael left with Emma, his posture heavy with defeat. That evening, I sat in my backyard as twilight settled, watching fireflies flicker among my peony bushes. I thought about the house, my grandkids, and the tangled mix of love and frustration binding me to my son. I hadn't flat out refused to help, but I hadn't agreed either. For the first time, I was choosing myself. It felt scary, but also freeing. My phone pinged with a text from Michael. "Can we meet tomorrow?" "Just you and me." I replied with a quick okay. Whatever came next, I'd handle it my way. Dignity came at a steep cost, but I was ready to pay it. And trust me, the next day brought a twist I didn't see coming. Michael showed up at my Charlotte bungalow the next morning alone. I noticed right away that his wedding ring was missing. "Coffee?" I offered, trying to keep things steady, though normal felt like a distant memory. He nodded and trailed me to the kitchen. We sat at my little oak table, the quiet between us thick and heavy. "Sarah and I had a massive fight last night," he said at last, staring into his mug. "About the cards she hid from the kids, about how she's treated you." I cupped my own coffee, soaking in its warmth. "I'm sorry it's gotten this bad, Michael. I told her what you said, about helping with the house if she respected you, and apologized." He looked up, his eyes bloodshot from sleepless nights. "She said she'd rather live on the street than say sorry to you. Even after everything that hurt." "I see. I don't think she meant it," he added quickly. "She's just stubborn and freaked out. She's never had to stress about money before." "That's not quite true, is it?" I said gently. "You mentioned her parents are struggling too." He blinked, caught off guard. "How'd you know that?" "You told me yesterday, about her dad losing his savings in that bad investment." His brow furrowed. "I only found out last month. Sarah always bragged her parents were loaded, self-made." "Unlike you who?" He cut himself off, looking guilty. "Unlike me? Who what?" I pressed. "Who lived off dad's insurance and milked the poor widow story," he mumbled, ashamed. I almost laughed. Thomas's life insurance? A measly $30,000 that barely covered his funeral. Everything I had came from years of grinding. "Michael, your dad's insurance was $30,000. It paid for the funeral and got us through a few months. After that, I worked 2 jobs to keep us going." "I know," he said softly. "I remember. So why buy her story?" He had no answer. That silence said more than words ever could. Where are you staying? I asked, shifting gears. A hotel near the office. Well, where the office used to be. He gave a bitter chuckle. I told Sarah I needed space to figure things out. And the kids? They're with her. I'm seeing them this weekend. He paused. I was hoping you'd come with me. They miss you. My heart jumped at the thought of hugging my grandkids, but I hesitated. What about Sarah? She'll be at her Pilates class. It's the one thing she won't skip, even with our cash problems. So we're sneaking around? I frowned. That didn't feel right. That's not a fix, Michael. I know, he said, running his fingers through his hair. A move so like his dad's it tugged at my chest. But I'm stuck. She won't budge, you won't budge. And the kids are caught in the crossfire. I sighed. He was right. The kids shouldn't pay for our mess. Okay, I said reluctantly. But just this once. Then we need a real plan. Thank you, he said, relief washing over him. Then he hesitated. Mom, about the house. What did the lawyer say exactly? That I've got options, I said carefully. I've put so much money into it I could stake a legal claim. Would you? His voice was barely a whisper. I get it if you do, but I haven't decided, I cut in. But if I help, it's as a co-owner, not a blank check. My name goes on the deed, Michael. He nodded slowly. That's fair. As he headed for the door, he stopped. I'm sorry, Mom. For all of it. For not seeing what was going on. For taking you for granted. I know, I said quietly. I've always known you love me, Michael. But love without respect doesn't cut it. And wait to see what's next. After he left, I wandered into my guest room, which had turned into a catch-all for old memories. Boxes of photos, Thomas's old novels, keepsakes from a lifetime. It was time to sort through it to decide what to hold on to and what to release. In one box, I found an old drawing pad. Art used to be my world before marriage, before kids, before life piled on responsibilities. I'd been talented, good enough that my high school art teacher begged me to apply to design school. Instead, I got a sensible accounting degree, met Thomas, and married at 23. The practical choice. The safe choice. I leafed through the faded pages, struck by the skill in those old sketches. Portraits, cityscapes, delicate ink studies. Why had I given it up? On a whim, I drove to an art shop in downtown Asheville. The owner, a woman my age with gray curls and paint-flecked hands, helped me pick out pencils, pastels, and acrylics. Picking it back up? She asked, bagging my supplies. After 45 years, I admitted. Think I've still got it? She grinned. It's like dancing. Your body remembers, even if your head's rusty. That night, I set up a small easel by my living room window and started sketching my backyard. My lines were shaky at first, stiff from years of neglect. But as the sky turned orange and purple, something clicked. Something came alive. And that was just the spark I needed. The next day, I stopped by the local community center and saw they had painting classes twice a week. I signed up on the spot, pushing past the butterflies in my stomach. When was the last time I'd done something just for me? By the end of the week, I'd gone to my first session, Acrylic Fundamentals. The teacher, a kind-eyed man named Walter, complimented my knack for color. You've got experience, he said, and I nodded, too choked up to explain the flood of feelings that simple nods stirred. In class, I met Ellen, another widow, who invited me to grab coffee with her and a few friends afterward. I shocked myself by saying yes to the coffee invite. The cafe was cozy, buzzing with the scent of fresh roasted coffee. Ellen's friends, Ruth, Clara, and Helen, pulled me into their circle like I'd always belonged, chatting about novels, local politics, and an art show coming to the Asheville Gallery. You should enter a piece, Ruth said when I mentioned dusting off my sketchbook. You've got until next month to submit. Oh, no way, I laughed, waving her off. I'm practically starting from scratch. We're all starting over at something, Clara said with a knowing smile. That's the gift of our age. We get to rewrite our stories. Reinvention. That word stuck with me as I drove home, as I brushed my teeth, as I lay in bed thinking about seeing my grandkids, about the house, about Sarah, and the messy web of family still tugging at me. Even as I was uncovering this new side of myself. For the first time maybe ever, I wasn't just a mom, a grandma, or a bank account. I was becoming me. And oh, the year ahead would prove just how far I could go. A year rolled by, bringing changes I couldn't have dreamed of that awful Mother's Day when Sarah's venom shattered my illusions about my place in Michael's family. It's Mother's Day again. Morning light spills through my kitchen windows as I arrange a cluster of daisies from my backyard. The air's sweet with vanilla and butter from the scones I've got baking. A recipe I nailed over the fall. The doorbell chimes and I grin knowing who's there. Grandma! Emma and Noah charge in, wrapping me in hugs. Michael follows holding a wrapped box and a shy smile. Happy Mother's Day, he says, pecking my cheek. Something smells incredible. Blueberry scones, I say, taking the gift. Your favorite. Emma grabs my hand. Grandma, you've got to see the drawing I did in art class. Dad brought it for you. I can't wait. I say, my excitement real. At 13, Emma's got a knack for art, and I've been nurturing it with sketchpads and classes. As we settle in my living room, now alive with my own acrylic paintings on the walls, I marvel at how much has shifted. But the road to this moment? It wasn't easy. Michael and Sarah's charming craftsman in Raleigh went into foreclosure after all. Despite my lawyer's confidence that I could claim a share of the property, I let it go. Some victories cost more than they're worth. 2 months after our big blowout, Michael and Sarah split. The weight of financial ruin and uncovered lies broke their marriage. Sarah moved to Oregon with her cousin, taking the kids. Michael rented a small place near his new job. A downgrade from his old tech gig, but stable at a local startup. The separation hit everyone hard. Emma and Noah called me weekly, their voices heavy with confusion and pain. To my shock, Sarah didn't turn them against me. Maybe losing it all softened her. Or maybe she was just too tired to keep up the fight. Michael flew out monthly and slowly a co-parenting rhythm took shape. Then 5 months ago, Sarah dropped a bombshell. She'd met someone new. She wanted to stay in Oregon for good, but was okay with the kids spending summers and holidays with Michael. He was gutted by the end of his marriage and the thought of part-time parenting. But he found a new strength. Mom, he said in a late-night call, his voice steady, I'm going for full custody. Are you sure? I asked, worried about the toll it'd take. I'm sure, he said. Sarah's not a bad mom, but her life's on a new path. The kids miss their home, their friends, their school. They miss you. That last bit brought tears to my eyes. And then, something unexpected happened. To everyone's surprise, Sarah didn't fight him. Her new life in Oregon, with a partner who preferred a quieter household, had shifted her priorities. She saw full-time parenting as a burden she wasn't ready to carry. She agreed to let Emma and Noah move back with Michael, keeping open visitation for herself. Her new partner had kids, and a ready-made family seemed to suit her more than battling for custody. For months ago, the kids came home to Michael. He found a modest rental in Charlotte, just a short drive from my place. Suddenly, I was a grandma again, not a wallet but the real deal. I picked them up from school some days, taught Emma how to blend colors on a canvas, and helped Noah with his robotics projects. Open your present, Mom, Michael says now, snapping me out of my thoughts. I peel back the wrapping to reveal a framed photo of me with Emma and Noah, taken at the art show where my painting snagged a third-place ribbon. We're all grinning, the kids tucked under my arms, joy frozen in time. It's beautiful, I whisper, my eyes misty. Michael helps me hang it above the mantel, pride of place. The kids dart outside to play in the yard while we finish prepping lunch. I got the raise, Michael says offhandedly, chopping cucumbers for the salad. Michael, that's amazing. I say, why didn't you spill the beans sooner? He shrugs, but I catch the spark in his eyes. Wanted to save the good stuff for today. I'm so proud of you, I say, meaning every word. I couldn't have done it without you, he says quietly. Not just the help back then, but showing me what it means to stand up for yourself, to value yourself. I squeeze his arm, too choked up to reply. But he wasn't done surprising me. I've been thinking, he goes on, about the future. About saving up to buy a house again someday, when I've got enough for a solid down payment. That's a smart plan, I say, cautious. We've both learned to tread lightly around money talk. This time I'm doing it the right way, he says, reading my mind. No overextending, no leaning on you. I never minded helping, I remind him. I just hated being invisible. He nods, getting it. I know. but I need to stand on my own. For me, and to show the kids you don't need to chase a big lifestyle to be content. It took him 42 years to learn that lesson, but I'm grateful he did. Emma and Noah burst back in, clutching handfuls of clover they've plucked from the grass. For the table, Emma declares, arranging them in a tiny jar with the focus of an artist. We sit down to a simple lunch: frittata, salad, and my fresh-baked scones. Before we dig in, Michael lifts his glass of sparkling lemonade. To Mom, Michael says, his gaze locking with mine, for showing us what really counts in life. Emma and Noah chime in with their own cheers, their voices bright and eager. I blink back tears, lifting my glass of sparkling lemonade, my heart full. After lunch, while the kids help Michael clear the dishes, a new habit he's instilling to teach them accountability, I step onto my front porch. The spring air feels gentle, alive with possibility, and my garden bursts with vibrant hues. But this moment of peace? It's the calm after a storm I'll never forget. Ellen's picking me up at 2:30 for our weekly art circle. For months we've gathered, a group of women holding each other up through life's shifts. Ellen's navigating her new retirement, Ruth's coping with her partner's heart condition, and I'm piecing together my redefined family. I've found more than just painting tips there. I've found friendship, a sense of belonging, a spark of purpose. My acrylics have gotten good enough that a small gallery in downtown Charlotte agreed to show a few pieces in their fall showcase. It's not a big deal to some, but to me it's a quiet triumph that lights me up inside. From the kitchen, I hear Emma and Noah giggling, Michael belting out a hilariously off-key version of a pop tune on the radio. It's the sound of family, my family, rebuilt on trust and respect, not duty or dollars. And then there's the letter that changed how I saw the past. Just last month, a card arrived from Sarah. A real apology, long overdue, owning up to the pain she caused. I was surprised by how much it meant, though I have no urge to rekindle anything close with her. Some wounds heal best when left alone. Their scars a reminder of lessons learned. The screen door creaks and Michael steps out, handing me a steaming mug of chamomile tea. You good? He asks, his voice soft but searching. I look at my son, who nearly lost his way but fought to find it again, who's learning like me that love without limits isn't love, it's sacrifice without reward. Yeah, I say honest. I'm good. We sit in easy silence, the afternoon sun wrapping us in warmth. In the yard, Emma and Noah chase each other in a game of freeze tag, their laughter floating like music. Inside, my latest painting sits on its easel, half done. Tomorrow I'll layer on more blues and golds, give it sharper lines. Tomorrow I'll keep building the life I'm choosing. Today it's enough to be right here, seen, valued, loved not for what I provide, but for who I am. Dignity cost me plenty, but oh, was it worth every penny. And this, my friends, is where the story blooms into something new. If you enjoyed this story, please don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. What would you do in Lydia's shoes? Write about it in the comments. We also recommend that you listen to the story of Susan, a woman who gave her granddaughter a painting she had painted herself, and her granddaughter publicly called it worthless. The way Susan responded shocked everyone. Thank you for watching.